Alright guys, today's goal is to justify a solution method. The difference between this and what we did yesterday lies in this word justify. When we justify something, quite literally what we're doing is proving that it is allowed. So when we think of justify, we think of the word prove. And when we think of prove in math, we think of properties. Because our properties are what tell us we're actually allowed to do something. They don't tell us we should do it. They don't tell us we need to do it. They tell us that we are allowed to take a step. It's our own reasoning and our own logic that tells us we should do something. It's our properties that tell us we're allowed to take that step. Coming up on the screen, you're going to see two properties. The first is the addition property of equality, which very simply states I'm allowed to add the same thing to both sides of an equation. The second is the subtraction property of equality, which tells me that I'm allowed to subtract the same thing from both sides of an equation. I'm going to give you guys, call it 45 seconds. Go ahead and copy this down. Pause the video for me and copy this down. Thank you very much. Alright, now that you've had a chance to copy down the addition and subtraction properties of equality, we have two more properties of equality we're going to talk about today. The first one is multiplication, which just tells me I'm allowed to multiply both sides of an equation by the same value. The second one is division. The division property of equality very simply states you can divide both sides of an equation by the same value. Very important, please notice that every one of these properties says by the same value. You cannot divide both sides of an equation by different numbers. That's not mathematically accurate. But you can divide it by the same number or the same value. Once more, I'm going to give you guys 45 seconds to finish copying this down. Go ahead and pause the video and push play when you're ready to start up again. Alright, today I'm not so worried about can we solve it, so I'm going to go ahead and solve every one of these really quickly for us. I look at it and I've got 3x minus 7 equals 11. Add 7 to both sides. 3x equals 18. Now I change colors to take my next step and I divide both sides by 3. 3's cancel out. X equals 18 divided by 3 is 6. Again, we talked about it yesterday. You showed me you know how to do this. I'm not worried about can you solve. What I'm worried about is can you justify. So when we justify, we go through and we label each step. My steps, I changed colors on, so it's easy to see the steps. First was what was written in gray or black. I can't really tell the difference. Second is what's written in green there. And third is what's written in red. When we justify, we come over here and we number our steps again. 1, 2, 3. And the first thing I do is I look at what's written up here in gray, this 3x minus 7 equals 11. How did I know I could write that down? Well, I knew I could write it down really just because it was given to me. So we call that, really unique here, a given. Go ahead and copy this down as we go. Number 2, I look at what I have written here in green, this 3x equals 18. What did I have to change to get from the gray to the green? That's the question I ask myself. What did I have to change? I added 7 to both sides. Well, if I add something to both sides, I know, because of the pieces, add means addition. And when I do it to both sides, I know I'm talking about one of my properties of equality. I'm going to go ahead and write it all the way out for you here, just so that we remember. But from here on out, I'm going to abbreviate the property of equality, just to save time, as POE. You're welcome to do that in your notes, but understand, when you're talking about it, we never abbreviate. When we're speaking, we use the words addition property of equality at all times. So now I take a look at number 3. And to get from the green to the red, what did I do? Well, I divided. And I divided the same number by both sides. So now I'm talking about the division because of the divide. Both sides tells me it has to be a property of equality. There we go. Go ahead and pause the video for about 45 seconds. Make sure everyone's on the same page here. And then when you guys are ready to move on, just push play again for me. Alright, looking at the board, we've got 6r plus 2 equals 14 written down. So again, I'm just going to start and I'm going to solve it. 6r plus 2 equals 14. The first thing I get rid of is the minus, or is the positive 2, so I subtract 2 from both sides. That gives me 6r equals 14 minus 2 is 12. Then I divide both sides by 6. And I get r equals 12 divided by 6 is 2. Now, I messed up a little bit here, but we can work with it. I've got my black, I've got my green, I've got my blue. Over here, I set it up so that I can label my steps. 1, 2, 3. Now, number 1, again, it's just given to me, so number 1 is always going to be given. No matter what level proof you're working with, you always start off with a given. So we start off with our given, and now we move on. How did I get from black to green? Everyone should be able to see that I subtracted 2, right? So from black to green, I subtracted 2 from both sides. Excuse me, sorry if you guys heard that. I tried to move the microphone away, but I had to cough. I subtract 2 from both sides. That tells me I am dealing with a subtraction. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. I'm dealing with a subtraction property of equality. Alright, now I look again and I go from green to bluish green. I don't know exactly what color that is. We're going to call it blue for the sake of me. And what did I do? I look at it and I say I divided 6. Okay, so that tells me because I divided, it's division. And because it happened to both sides of my equation again, it's a property of equality. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to give you guys 45 seconds. Go ahead and pause the video. Make sure you've caught up. Make sure everyone's understanding what's going on the board. And then when you're ready to move on, go ahead and press play. Alright guys, we've got another problem on the board. This one is negative 3g minus 5 equals 11. I'm going to go ahead and while I'm giving you instructions, I'm going to solve it. What you guys are going to do here is once I've got this solved, you guys are going to go ahead and justify it for me. You don't have to come up with the solution on your own, but you do have to come up with the justification. So let me go through and label this 1, 2, and 3. Over here you should have 1, 2, and 3. I want you guys to go through and justify it on your own. Take 1 to 2 minutes, as much time as you need to make sure everyone's on the same page. Once everyone is on the same page, go ahead and push play and see if your answers match up with mine. Alright, you should have had some time to do this. Let's see if your answers match up with mine. You should have a given, followed by the addition property of equality, followed by, the division. Wow. For those of you that are curious, it's really late when I'm writing or making this video. That's a little bit why I'm starting to sound ridiculous. It's not division, it is division. So we've got the division property of equality. If yours matched up with mine, great. If it didn't, go ahead and pause the video and take a look at it and come up with what you did wrong. Good. Now that we all know we're on the same page, what I want you guys to do is pause the video in just a second. Sorry, I should really stop saying that before I'm ready for you to do it. But what I'm going to ask you guys to do is please go ahead and solve this equation and then write your own justification for it. Solve the equation, write your own justification for it. Once you are done, That should take about 2 minutes. At the end of the 2 minutes, you're going to compare your work with a partner sitting next to you. At the end of the 2 minutes, you're going to compare your work with a partner sitting next to you. After that, compare with the whole group. Make sure everyone's on the same page, and then go ahead and move on. Miss N and Miss Ramirez will be helping you guys out on this one. But before you move on to the next problem, please make sure everybody is on the same page. Go ahead and pause the video and push play when you're ready to move on. Alright guys, we solved these equations yesterday in our two-step equation solving video. This time I want you to solve them and justify them completely on your own. Do not work with a partner this time. Do not compare notes with a partner. If you do need help, go ahead and talk to Miss N or Miss Ramirez about that. They are more than willing to help you out, but work on it on your own. Do not get help from another student. Go ahead and work on these 3 problems. I'll give you guys 4 to 5 minutes, or however long Miss Ramirez and Miss N are willing to give you. And don't let me know. You can't let me know if I'm not actually there. But go ahead and push play whenever you guys are ready to move on again. Alright guys, this is the last piece of the day. This time around, these are not going to count as a quiz. However, I do need you to do this on a half sheet of paper. Everybody needs to do these 5 problems on a half sheet of paper. This is how I know you guys made it through the whole video, and you should know how to do this. Everybody do it on a half piece of paper. You're going to be turning it in at the end of the rotation. As soon as everyone is done with this, go ahead and rotate. You guys should be pushing at this point the 35-minute mark. By the time you're done with this, that means you're ready to rotate. One more time, this is due at the end of the group. If it is not completed when it's time to rotate, you have to turn it in as is, and your grade will reflect the fact that it was not done. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much and have a great day.